Welcome to the Creative Brew, helping you keep your creative juices brewing. We're giving out chunks of insight, motivation, and practicality for your creative journey. My next partner is Elevate Coffee Trading, and if you appreciate specialty coffee, enjoy outdoor adventure, and love helping elevate the lives of children around the world, then you're going to love Elevate Coffee Trading. Their mission is to extract hope through love, coffee, and adventures. There's free shipping in the United States, and every bag of coffee helps sponsor health and education for children in coffee-producing countries and in areas of need in the United States. You can use promo code Elevate21 on your next order, and you can follow their journey on social media at Elevate Coffee Trading. Or you can visit online at elevatecoffeetrading.com, and let's start extracting hope together. And this episode is brought to you by Baba Coffee, smuggling good vibes. Baba roasts their coffee beans each week and only offers the freshest coffee. They have espressos, lattes, cappuccinos, pour over, or drip coffee. You can try their cold brew coffee, nitro cold brew, or bulletproof coffee, and boba milk teas. They also have a wide assortment of delicious food. I would suggest you try the avocado toast, mimosas, wine, or beer. On the weekends, you can check out some great music like the Soto Six and food like Eliza the Shelf and others over the weekend, every Friday and Saturday, beginning at 6 p.m. You can check out everything they got going on Facebook and Instagram at Baba Coffee. Hey, and welcome to a new episode of the Creative Brew. First of all, I want to welcome Micah North. He is the president of Resonant Sciences, a industry-leading company within the radon industry with offices all over the country. They're here to disrupt convention. They use a mix of creativity, engineering, and branding to really create a product for people within the defense industry, mainly within the defense industry. Obviously, other clients within telecommunications and other things. But yeah, this has been an awesome episode. Without further ado, I want to welcome Micah to the show and let him share his origin story.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Thanks for making time for me. So to give a little bit of background on myself, so as you mentioned, Cleveland High School, and then went from there to Virginia Military Institute, where I did my undergraduate, and then I went to Florida State for a PhD in chemistry, most of which never has gotten used, but went straight from there to Lockheed Martin Skunk Works in aerospace. So and Skunk Works, if you may or may not know, but was kind of the early pioneers in stealth technology and what we would call in the industry low observables. And that's where you had the origins of the F-117 stealth fighter, the F-22, F-35 originally, and all the way back to platforms like the SR-71 and the U-2 spy plane and things like that. Those are all came out of the Skunk Works organization in Southern California there. And so I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to start my career there, and then went over to Northrop Grumman, worked the B-2 program, dealt with a lot of the structural issues and materials issues on that platform. Ultimately, about 18 years ago, moved out to Dayton, Ohio to work for a company called ATK and led up their technology development business unit within the military systems program. Really had a great opportunity there to focus on new and emerging technologies and how we get that and transition that over to the warfighter and put that out into the warfighter's hands. So all great career and doing lots of different things, and then one day we decided that we wanted to just do something different, and we wanted to that we thought we could go faster and harder and be a little bit more disruptive to the industry on our own. And myself and five others, we hit our 401ks and started the company. And so at one point it was, just me, just for a few days, and then our other five other guys, and we got going, and that was the kind of the origin story of the company.
That's great. That's great. It's Yeah, I think that's one of those where definitely for I think for anyone that listens to this and maybe they're thinking about trying to start something or even trying to build something a little bit bigger. How what maybe from your perspective, and even starting like resonant sciences and things like that. Do you feel like it was it was better? Do you feel like is this something you felt like you could have sustained by yourself for so long, or do you feel like, hey, I really need a group of people to?
No, we all brought something really unique to the table, and it's almost like the Avengers or something. It wouldn't have worked with just each of us individual of ourselves. When we all brought our own special powers to the team. And basically I ended up as the president because I was the only one who liked to talk to people. Everybody else were hardcore engineers, and I wasn't a very good engineer, so I had to learn how to use my mouth. So no, so that's kind of really how we got started, and no, absolutely, it was great because it's tough to get a business going. One of my favorite quotes was from Elon Musk, and it was in a recent interview, and they said, what words of encouragement would you give young entrepreneurs who are starting their company and trying to get going, but need some advice. And he said, if you need words of encouragement, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. And I thought
Yeah,
that's absolutely
yeah,
the truth because you're going to get your teeth kicked in every now and then. It's just
yeah,
part of it. And so it's managing the ups and the downs and having that resilience and persistence to stay through and see things through to the end. But certainly having good teammates and people to share the misery and the great times with makes all the difference in the world, for a company.
yeah.
Uh, we're
So,
fortunate. Go ahead.
so I well, it actually had my brain sort of going. Well, and for listeners, for people that don't know, I've helped Resonant Sciences with with a number of projects, but it always sort of amazes me. I'm always sort of interested in like how these companies get built and how they grow and how they expand. When did you feel like maybe for you, like when did you feel, or maybe for the group, when did you feel like you really had something with Resonant Sciences? What was that point to feel like, okay, I think we're going going the right direction?
Yeah, I think we when we started, we started with six of us, and it wasn't really ever like a big plan on growing a company and growing a business. We're about 250 folks now, but it really was more just wanted to do our own thing and wanted to do the right thing for our customers, and we didn't really have like overarching business plans or financial goals or anything more like that. It was more just do the right thing, take care of our customers. We're very loyal to our customers, very loyal to the warfighter, and we figured everything else would sort itself out. And what ended up happening is as we kind of had that philosophy, it turns out that was a pretty popular philosophy, because the phone would ring and people would say, "Hey, can I come over?" And say, "Well, I don't have any money to pay you, but if you can bring a customer or bring a contract, you can come over." And so what we did is we ended up with this kind of very entrepreneurial culture of folks that wanted to come in and do the right thing for the customer, but didn't like necessarily working within the confines and the bureaucracy of the bigger companies. And they liked the agility and everything that we brought about it. So I don't know that I ever kind of go back and say, oh yeah, aha, we made it, as much as it certainly uh, you know got easier from bringing in business and things like that. We don't really have to do a ton of marketing, a ton of pursuits. We have a lot of people call us and want to come work with us. Um, but we're still definitely on the growth path, and we'll see where it goes. The nice thing is that we are afforded that luxury to be able to kind of work on what we want to work on, work with who we want to work with. And I tell folks this all the time is I have very little interest in being a vendor, almost none, and all the interest in the world in being a partner and being a partner, and and investing our time, investing our money, relationships, building those out, and doing that. And then, if we can do the right thing for the warfighter and for the country, then we're game. So.
Yeah, good deal, good deal. So with Resonant Sciences, how do you feel like? And I know the moniker now is Disrupt Convention, but how is what's Resonant Sciences? Is there something that maybe your company is doing that might be a little bit different from everyone else in the radar industry? And at the
Yeah,
same time, too, could you elaborate just a little bit on the radar industry for
Yeah,
people?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me talk about kind of the three areas that the company works in. We work in advanced apertures, which are antennas and radomes, and uh, uh, and then another business area called signature systems and diagnostics, and then the last area is called mission systems. I'll touch on each of those briefly. So from a radome standpoint. We have the guys who were not necessarily always resonant products, but the guys who are the chief engineers in their former lives, and some of its current on the F-15, F-16, F-18, F-22, F-35 to B-52 nose radome. So lots and lots of national expertise. Also, lots of expertise in-flight entertainment radomes. Everything from Panasonic to Thales's, Live TV, GoGo's 2KU, Viasat's in-flight entertainment systems. So, and those are the radomes that you see on your commercial airlines. So you would see on, American Airlines, Delta, Qantas, those sorts of platforms. We also do a lot of work in conformal antennas, so antennas that would blend into the surface of the aircraft. So that would be completely part of the surface, not integrated where they stand up proud or anything like that. So completely smooth. So from an aerodynamic standpoint, really good aero performance and things of that nature. So that's kind of the advanced aperture group. We've got a lot of really cool programs going right now. It's harder to talk about just due to the kind of some of the security and customer relationships on the current programs, but a lot of next generation platforms, going forward right now, and we're definitely right in the middle of all those. Uh, on the signature systems and diagnostics business unit, we build what's the most widely used instrumentation radar in the country right now. It's called the Radar Man 2. And that radar is at Lockheed, Northrop, Boeing, GE, Pratt, just kind of everywhere in the industry. It's in a lot of the Hill Air Force Base. It's the radar for different platforms from an acceptance testing standpoint. So it's kind of the industry standard. And we take that same radar and we put it into a robotic measurement system called the Razor, which stands for Resonant Adaptable Zonal Radar. And that's a new product that we're rolling out that basically takes what was previously, measurements at a very bespoke fixed facility and puts them onto a mobile measurement platform. So it's a robot with an array and on the end of a robotic arm, and we can position that extremely accurately on the aircraft and to do all sorts of measurements, being to assess the performance of the vehicle, performance of the antennas, performance of the radomes, threat emulation, all of those sorts of things. And then we do quite a amount of work with electro-optical infrared areas. So understanding more, modeling and the performance of sensors and threat systems, et cetera, in that. A lot of work in material measurements. So we care a lot about how material properties come together. And I know you've helped us a ton on, kind of marketing of those and the branding and of those sorts of systems. So that's a big part of the business. The last area that we work in is our mission systems group, and that's where we do a lot of our electronics. And one of the areas that we work heavily in is an area called simultaneous transmit and receive, or STAR. And STAR is becoming a very big, very, very big area. There was the the electromagnetic spectrum is completely congested right now. And if you go and you look at, there's major fights between the Department of Defense and the Department of Commerce on um, how to utilize the spectrum, and who's stepping on who and who's interfering with who in that area. And so what we're developing are technologies that allow them to be coexist and to operate on top of one another, which is something that's previously not ever happened. And to kind of give you an idea of the market for that, there was an auction that was done a few years ago at L band, which around 1 gigahertz in the electromagnetic spectrum, and they auctioned off 60 megahertz, so a very very small piece of bandwidth there, and that went for $49.9 billion. And uh, being able to utilize that and double the efficiency in there, how much is that worth? And it's worth maybe another, at least I'd just take one of the billions, that's the types of things we're doing. And that leads us into a lot of different mission systems, architectures for how we allow systems to operate, et cetera. And to a lot of applications for a technique I call DJAM, which basically prevents sensors from being jammed by adversaries. And we do that with GPS, so prevent GPS from being jammed. We do that with other sensors, data links, etc. So lots and lots of visibility there in those areas. So
Well,
that's kind of the quick snapshot of what the company does. Um, to answer your question about what we do differently, um, I think there's twofold. One is in my world, there's two areas. There's tech pull and then there's tech push. And tech pull means you've got a requirement, you know what you need. You don't know how to do it, but you know that I need a antenna that puts out this pattern at this frequency, or it needs to connect to this satellite or something like that, right? And so we have you and us, we co-develop a spec sheet, so to speak, of what requirements are for that need that you have, and we then come in and work a solution to meet that need. That's what I would call a tech pull program. A tech push program is we're developing something that you had no idea that you even needed. And what I mean is, this, your iPhone, right? Before an iPhone existed, you had no idea that you needed an iPhone, and now you can't imagine life without it, right? And so those are the types of technologies that we call tech push. And we do a lot of those technologies as well, and pushing forward in what people didn't even think was possible. And that's kind of where the Disrupt convention comes from, because when you put those types of things out there that people previously thought wasn't possible, it's very disruptive to the industry, very disruptive to the order of operations on the battlefield. It's disruptive to the competitors. It's disruptive to customers. But we think that's a good thing in the long run to get more capability out there. So that's kind of one of our big pushes, is how we get new disruptive technologies out to the warfighter and out into the field as fast as possible.
yeah. So do you feel like, so even with that, so you've got definitely a whole array of different capabilities for customers and for clients. Now, for you, I mean, like I said, I know you're the one that loves, talking to these potential clients and customers. Like, how do you? Because this can be, not to say, I mean, unless you've got engineer speak, or you have that in mind. How do you market something like that? Do you market it based off of what this can provide, or do you just go do do a sales pitch? And at the same time too, is this something that maybe is unique to Resonant, or is it like I mean, I'm not sure with the radon ministry if everybody's sort of stuck in their ways, or if or you and
Well,
resident.
it kind of depends. It kind of depends on the program and the product and the customer. Everything's kind of tailored, unique. A lot of that is really built on building trust and personal relationships, right? They know that you're the guys who always come through for them, right? That means a lot. They know that when you tell them something, that they can take it to the bank and they can trust. There are so many people out there that you can't do that with, and you can't build those relationships with. So, to me, the personal relationships and the relationships with the customers are absolutely key. Friends buy from friends. That's a that's just kind of an old maxim I think of, but really it's taking the time to understand what the requirements are, understanding how to properly scope the program. There's really only a few people in the industry that are really good on the nose radomes. There's maybe, 4 or 5 guys in the entire country that can do that very well. I mean, out of that list of radomes that I listed, that was all designed by 4 guys. And if you want to get even crazier than that, is they all did their graduate work for the same professor. And you think about one person really changing. I mean, all those fighter aircraft. I mean, that's nuts, and in-flight entertainments, and they all stemmed from one guy. And people don't think about like how one person can really be that influential over, the United States Department of Defense. It's pretty amazing if you really think about it.
Yeah.
So some of it's like having the right people and the right understanding, and having seen a lot of things as well. Sometimes it's showing through operational analysis. What if I had this piece of technology, what my lethality or survivability would be, in that scenario as opposed to without it, right? And so it's kind of showing through modeling and performance and things that they never thought they could possibly do. We give them the ability to do. Technology doesn't really sell, capability sells, so if technology is just a dumb box, right? But if I can show you what you can do with that technology, right, the capability that you can bring, that's really what sells. And at the end of the day, it really is just do what you say you're going to do. So many people don't do that. That's an easy thing, just be honest, and when things are screwed up, tell the guys that things are screwed up. Don't try to play a bunch of games and hide it. Just go, yeah, yeah, we're working hard stuff, man. Sometimes it gets screwed up. And here's what I'm going to do to fix it, And so I just kind of believe in being very open and transparent. And you're doing hard stuff, man. It's going to end up in the ditch. It's going to end up in the ditch every now and then.
Yeah.
And you just got to pick it up out of the ditch and keep on going, because that's how it's going to be. So
Yeah. That's a good point. That's people do at the end of the day, people buy from people. I think sometimes we get that, we try to make that too complicated at times. But yeah, those are some good points. So right now, I mean, as far as even with Resonant, the obviously growing. What's been the like some of the challenges with that? I didn't know if maybe with the obviously with the rise of AI, how that if that's helping or hindering the industry, or what
I
other
think,
challenges that might be associated with that.
yeah, I think, as we grow, our most important thing is the culture of the company and managing the culture, and making sure that we preserve that. There's no amount of money or contracts that fix a broken culture. Once you've destroyed it, you're not bringing it back, or it's extreme, at the very least, very, very difficult to do that. And so, one of the things in my key job is, aside from bringing in business and that is maintaining the culture of the company, because from that is where all the creativity and everything else flows from, and the how we treat our customers and how we interact is that. So that's kind of one of the challenges as you get bigger and bigger is how you keep that nimble, agile, culture, and a lot of that comes down to the leaders that you empower, in the organization, and you got to have, one of the big things I'm always, believe in is the worst thing you can do to your good people is to burden them with bad people. And so you've got to figure out what the bad apples are and get rid of them. If you and every now and then you screw up and you gotta go, man, I got to get rid of that guy or that girl, and it happens. We all make mistakes, and we make mistakes on hiring, and when you realize that, you got to go, man, I screwed that up. I got to go fix it because I owe these people my responsibility to them is to make things as good as I can possibly make it. And oftentimes you're the only person that can do that as the leader of the organization. To the AI stuff, the AI stuff is certainly changing the industry and changing what's capable, in a variety of ways on the DoD. The DoD is usually a little slower to adopt on some of these things, but you are seeing some bigger companies like the Palantirs and folks like that are really working in the AI space and pulling some of their capabilities to bear for the warfighter. I think some of the challenges is how you operate with the AI and ensure that whatever you're putting into that it's learning off of, that it's not learning off of sensitive information that you don't want going back out there, right? And so that's one of the things I think we've always got to be cognizant of, especially in the defense side of the house, as we do deal with some sensitive matters, and even beyond defense, some of the companies as they look at their intellectual property and stuff, because that's oftentimes can be guarded even more carefully than the national stuff. Sometimes you'll see some from some companies, but how we use AI in a responsible manner, from where it also protects the information going in, so it doesn't end up with some of our adversaries. So I think that's the challenge that I see with AI is how we utilize all this database and wealth of knowledge without giving away what we don't want to give away.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, that's that it's I don't know, it's a slippery slope right now. I mean, it's definitely it's here. I mean, I think everyone's learning how to use it within the framework of what they do, but at the same time too, you wouldn't want that to learn so much to where it starts to put out information and intellectual property that
Yeah.
that's that
Like
you
for an
all.
example, right, is, if you have a sensitive design, right, and it may not be from a classification standpoint, but maybe it's proprietary, right, of a vehicle, of an air vehicle, a shape of an air vehicle, right? And there may be a temptation to, hey, I want to optimize the aero performance for this condition or something like that, right? But as soon as you put that model in, it's out there now, right?
Yeah,
And I don't know enough on who on the other side extracts and pulls that stuff out the back end, but I know once you upload it, it's uploaded, right? And so
yeah,
so so that's the thing, you have to talk about with young engineers is like, hey, whenever you upload something, it's just like the internet, man, it's out there and there's no pulling it back.
yeah,
And so that I think there's some, as we go forward with an industry, how we think about those sorts of things. But certainly on a design standpoint, I mean, it's incredible what's happening. And you think about I may not even need to understand the exact mathematical mechanism by which something occurs. If I can look at the beginning state and the end state, I can have AI extract out, the transform that got me there, right?
yeah,
Without understanding the equations per se.
yeah,
And so you start looking at correlative and causal relationships that you may not even really have mathematical or physical insight into how they happen, but you just know that they're correlated, right? I think that's where some real power is. And so that's very disruptive, to think that I don't really even have to understand a system. I can just understand the mathematical or just figure out the mathematical relationship between things.
yeah,
I think an example I'll give you because it's a little bit abstract, but an example would be, if crickets chirp at a certain frequency based upon the temperature at night, right? And their frequency chirps is different based upon the temperature. Well, I can't really tell you what the mathematical relationship and what gets inside the cricket's head that makes him rub his legs, that much faster because it's, a degree colder, but there's a correlation there, right? And so if I can use AI to go in and figure out those correlations and those relationships, maybe I don't need to understand the underlying physics and the underlying mechanism and why the grasshopper's brain tells it to do what it tells it to do. Maybe I just need to go, yeah, I just know that at this temperature, it chirps at this frequency, and this temperature, it chirps at that frequency. Those are the types of things I'm kind of getting to. And that's just a really crude, poor example, but you can imagine, you can look at all these correlations with AI and develop, models around that.
Yeah, that's some really good insight. Yeah. So right now you're pretty much answered really answered my next question, just on creativity and you talked about your culture and being really entrepreneurial, but yeah, just how creativity is a underlying foundation
Yeah.
at Resonant.
Yeah, so it's funny. We have several folks that are in the company that were, PhDs in physics, but were fine arts majors as bachelor's degrees, and we have a couple of those folks. And so, you find a lot of musicians in the company. There's guitars. Placing mine's sitting back here somewhere behind me. And because I'm from Tennessee, the banjo. But the there's a lot of kind of that creative brain in a lot of the engineers and the folks here. And even as you go look at like Razor and things that you've helped us with, our guys, I'm really proud of this. They want a certain aesthetic behind everything that we do. And what I mean is they don't want like a bunch of, I call it 80. I mean, you may not be familiar, but there's some aluminum kind of building blocks called 80/20. And it's, just kind of, it's almost like engineer tinker toys. And if you go into a lot of places, you'll see a bunch of 80 put together test fixtures and things like that. And I guess that's cool. But and people will sell that as a finished product, but I'm kind of like, it's kind of like if you made a product out of Tinker Toys and sold to people, but engineers go, well, what does it matter? It gets the desired effect. Who cares, right? Who cares what it looks like? Does it give you the right answer? And we're more of the, it's got to give the right answer, of course, but also it's got to look good. It's got to look like, it's got to be something you're proud to have in your facility. It's got to be, ergonomics have to be right. The functionality has to be right. How you load the samples has got to be right. It's got to be thought through. And so a lot of our products, if you look at them, have like a certain aesthetic behind them. Uh, we try to choose the same color schemes. We try to do, have products that we're proud from people to walk into the lab and see that. And I want people, when they walk into a lab, to instantly go, oh, that must have been made by Resonant, because it's got kind of the same, feel to it. Almost like Apple.
Yeah.
I want to say I'm an Apple fanboy, but I'm a fan of some of the things that Steve Jobs did in the earlier days, and which was, hey, you can go buy a $300 laptop at Best Buy, or you can go buy a MacBook, and the MacBook may cost you $1,200, and it's a lot more now, but and you got a nice computer and it worked, and it felt like a real computer. It felt solid, it felt solid built. And so I don't ever want to be the cheapest, or I mean, being cheapest would be nice sometimes, but that's not the focus. The focus is on being the best. And sometimes uh, not always the cheapest, but I think we've got to be the highest quality and the highest, standard, and push the bounds on those sorts of things.
Yeah, I agree. Well, yeah, definitely. Steve Jobs had his, yeah, he never really sold the functionality of the phone. He sold the almost the more of the abstract qualities behind
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
He talked
yeah,
about the buttons being sexy and all this, like Like he never talked about the functionality at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very little about how good your phone call was going to be.
Yeah,
Nothing.
didn't
Nothing.
care. It's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah. So we like to think that we can make good phone calls with our stuff as well. So that
I
the
would think so with some of the
yeah,
technology you have.
quality got to be good as well. So
That might be in the research and development department. It
yeah,
might have your own unique phone or something like that. That might be something down the pipe.
yeah.
Um, so right now, what inspires you right now? What gets you up every day?
I think what one of the things that we do I think very well is that we're very well integrated with the warfighter, and that we talk to the operational guys. We're hearing their stories. As guys are coming in and out of theater, they're in the different places we're operating. We're sitting with them. We're talking to them. We're pushing tech out to them. We're getting feedback on the tech. We're and hearing, hey man, that like saved us, or that made all the difference in the world, or you guys did something we've never been able to do before. Those are the types of things that gets me excited, and keeps me going. So knowing that we've got some solutions that I think can revolutionize the industry and the way that the warfighter is operating. When we showed had an interview on the B2 guys that we had nothing to do with it. I actually read the interview later. Was they came out and said they saved 15,000 maintenance man hours in 1 year with the Razor on the aircraft. I mean, it's a huge savings. I mean, it's huge.
Oh,
So when you look at like what we're trying to do, as a DoD, as we look at like speed to ramp, we look at operating costs. How do we, live with, lower budgets or tighter budgets. Budgets are going up, but costs are going up as well, right? uh, so how can we make that these platforms more effective, keep more aircraft in the air, and do it at lower costs? And the Razor's doing that. And so that's one of the things that excites me, right? And is how we're able to solve those sorts of problems for the warfighter and for the country. uh, it's a lot of the stuff we're doing as it relates to airframes, is about how do I keep airframes in the air, and how do I keep them more survivable. And if I have less money, then I have less airplanes. And if I have less airplanes, I have to have a higher mission readiness rate to keep the same amount of aircraft in the air.
yeah.
So how can we affect that? And those are the types of things that keeps me going, is doing that sort of stuff. And then just pushing something cool out there that people go, holy crap, I didn't know you could even do that.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, I mean, if you had the power to go back, maybe you built some kind of device, and that frequency was able to bring you back into send you back in time, and you were able to see talk to your younger self for maybe a limited time. What would you tell your younger self?
Man, I don't know. It's a tough question. You know, just persistence. Just gotta see things through, the good and the bad, and sometimes the bad. Good comes out of the bad, and you gotta. It's the full package. I don't have any regrets. I don't, because I think that we are where we are, and we are the men that we are today, based upon the good times and the bad times, and the struggles, and sometimes you learn the most when you fall down and get kicked in the teeth, and so I think the biggest thing I would say is just persistence, is just maintaining that persistence and keeping aggressive and stuff like that. Because um, I think that's the biggest part. And being aggressive as well, as um, so many people, there aren't enough people in this world who are aggressive in pursuits of growing business and creating and making new things. There's a lot of people in the world that are content just to go work for the man, and never really take an opportunity to change the world, or change their surroundings. And I look at what you're doing and what we're doing here, and that's the things I think everybody should be the most proud of, is when you're going off and building something. And I would say that's for my younger self. I would say, hey, get into building things sooner, and building businesses and stuff. But on that same note, I kind of go back to, would Resonant have been successful if I had tried to start Resonant straight out of school? No, wouldn't have been. Um, Probably took every step that it took to get where we are today, and that's why I say there's really no regrets. I mean, it's you can look back on it now and go, oh yeah, we should have done this and should have done that. But the reality is, well, it might not have turned out the same. It might not. And I'm happy. I'm happy with where we are. So
Good deal. Yeah, it's yeah. Sometimes I ask that all the time, and that heck, that could be the toughest question for a lot of my guests. Is like, how like what would I tell? Like, what would I tell myself? So yeah, that was a good answer. That was cool. That was cool. Yeah, sometimes we just where we are is where we are. I mean, and I think if we try to shortcut the process, and obviously, yeah, if you came back with the knowledge, and yeah, you could have started earlier. I mean, where would it be where it is now? So
yeah.
yeah, I think you start playing around with, you know, parallel reality, quantum, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
what was like,
I mean,
what if I made this choice? Would it
be a
go
good
this way?
book.
Yeah,
It'd be a
yeah.
good book. But yeah, I think who knows where you end up at the end of it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I always I always tell my wife, it's like, obviously I'm, in design and creativity and branding, but I I have a I've always loved like science and stuff like that. And I told her, like, look, if I wasn't in like the creative industry, like I would want to be like some kind of theoretical physicist or something like that,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and hatching like all these crazy ideals and then seeing if it works or not.
yeah.
I would love to do that.
I
Just
mean, I think
research and development. Just
it's always like the most I think some of the most effective, guys like that are the ones that have these like, and you see it manifest in their like love of music or art or, writing or any number of ways, and it's kind of funny how each of them has their own like thing that they're into outside of the work, but they have to have that creative outlet, to do it. And mine's, I like cooking, so I'm in the I don't get to do it very often because I travel so much, but on the weekends I usually try to, make something. My thing is like I make it until I figure out like how I got it as good as I can think I can do it. And then once I feel like I've mastered it, then I don't really make it anymore. I go to something else. So I'll spend like days and weeks like tweaking something, and I'll get it and I'll write it down, and then I may never make it again.
Uh, so you're better than me because I love cooking, but I never. I'm always big on experimentation. So I'll make all these different rice bowls, but
Yeah.
I'll make them in different ways and I'll put different seasonings, but I never write down anything. So it's what like what are we making? Like what are we making today? And I'll concoct it. And I usually I've got a good idea as far as like what things I put in there. But I love like, okay, next bowl, let me do this and then add
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So yeah.
No, all good, man.
So right now, I mean, just creative tips for our audience.
I think, it's basically kind of, when you have a vision, seeing it through, and having that persistence to, continue through like the blocks sometimes. And sometimes that means backing off for a day or two and then coming back to it. Sometimes I find that I do my best thinking when I'm just laying there at night. I'll wake up at 2 in the morning, and I have to have I keep my phone beside the bed, which is probably not a great thing, but I keep my phone there and I have the notepad. I use the notes section on my phone like nonstop. And so I'll wake up and then I'll have like figured out something I've been thinking about all day. Cause I think kind of, you relax and the clarity comes in, and then I'll go, oh, why didn't I figure that out before? And so, and I'll take the opportunity to jot that down, while I'm laying there. But I think just kind of the persistence on, as you're trying to solve problems, thinking through every possible angle, and that's kind of my thinking on it. And then, if you're a leader of an organization, it's really about enabling the environment, and having the right environment that people can do those sorts of things. So if you have an environment where, like I said, I know that every now and then it's going to come off the rails because we're doing hard stuff and we're going fast, right? And your people got to know that, hey, they're gonna be supported, and sometimes when you're doing hard things, it's gonna fall apart, and you just got to get it back together and keep going. We can't give up. Can never give up on the mission. You can never stop, but you can try a bunch of things until you figure out what's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great tips. Great tips. And then before we sign off today, just some words of wisdom, something that may resonate with our audience.
I think everything is, as you're in business, is all about, building those personal relationships, and building the and operating with the utmost integrity with everything that you do. If you operate with integrity and you do what you say you're going to do, and you follow through, and you always try to do the right thing, then the business takes care of itself. You've that's really the most valuable thing I think that you can do, is to try to always do right by your customer, and always do right by your coworkers and your employees, or everyone, because everybody, they know, and it all catches up with you. So as long as you're operating with the utmost integrity, and you're doing trying to do the right thing, I think that that's the most important piece of business, that advice I could give anyone in a general sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. That's great. So hey, this has been a awesome episode with
Yeah.
with me, with Micah. What's the best way of, maybe for aspiring engineers slash creatives that want to jump in and want to get connected with Resonant? What's the best way of getting connected with you?
Yeah, I would say definitely check out our website. It's resonantsciences.com, and we have lots of job postings right now. And we have a, where you can info button on there. You can write us. You can shoot ideas. You can shoot, so honestly, some of it funny enough, I've actually hired people. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but because it may trigger a flood. But where guys have written and said, "Hey, I can do this, this, and this, and I really want to work there, and I think that I could bring some value." And I go, "Well, let's call that dude, because that was pretty ambitious that he reached out and showed me all that." And we've hired some of those people, and moved a guy here, across the country. But we do have offices in Dayton, is where we're headquartered, but we also have offices in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We have offices in Louisville, Colorado. We have groups in Virginia, and we have a small group outside of Fort Bragg in North Carolina, and Fort Sill in Oklahoma. And so and then we have several employees kind of scattered throughout the country. So.
Good deal. Good deal. Hey, like I said, this is really a lot of great insight into a industry that not a lot of you may not know about, but it affects you. So if you're always flying, and you're trying to get onto the Wi-Fi, to the entertainment, odds are it's used with a radom. It keeps things from the signal from blocking out. So you've experienced the things that they work in. It's part of your life. So but this is a really cool episode, because I know for me, it gives me a lot of great insight as far as just into the industry, what you do, how you do it, and what you do to really build a business like this, because it never takes just one person, especially with an endeavor like this. It takes a group of people, and understanding for anyone that's looking to build and create. That might be what's needed. Sometimes it could be really hard, doing it by yourself, and then you'll get that, sort of that little, spark of growth there. Sometimes you do need some people to come in, and maybe some things that you're not the best at, usually bringing that group of people in may help. So really great insight on this episode. Best way to if you want to help support this show, support this episode as well as future episodes, you can go to www.buymeacoffee.com / the creative brew. And for the price of a cup of coffee, given inflation, you can help support this show as well as future episodes. If you're a business and or organization brand that's maybe they're interested in partnering up with the show, we do offer show packages. So we do video banners, pre-roll ads, and everything else like that. So if you're interested in something like that, please send me an email. That'll be in the show notes, or send me a message on thecreativebrew.tv on Instagram, and we'll get connected. So without further ado, Micah, thank you for coming on to the show, for sharing your story, talking about Resonant, and really sharing some of your insights. So I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it. Great time.
And
Great catching up.
appreciate it. And like I said, this is the Creative Brew. Be creative, stay inspired. Call the homie up, told him loot the sample up. We gotta come together now, cause I had enough. The time is now, there'll never be another one. It's a SOUNDCLOUD.